wish we could have an experiment where starting tomorrow, everyone in the media just stops paying attention to Trump and his lawyers. Just stop paying attention.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? Because I feel like giving it so much attention is empowering it, and it's spreading their disgusting message to Republican voters who, by the way, in the beginning, like after the general election was called, a higher percentage of Republican voters were willing to just accept reality. And now with the repeated claims of widespread voter fraud, you're seeing more and more Republican voters saying, oh no, we don't have free and fair elections. It was stolen from Donald Trump.
Yeah, Anna, I hear you. I'm gonna make a really random point, but I'm surprised Milo's not back because it seems like there's no bottom to the barrel. So, and the reason I mention him in this context is, look, we tried ignoring all these folks, and at every level it didn't work, and you know it, right? So we tried ignoring all the right wingers that were popping up on YouTube, and no, they just festered and got worse. And then when we started fighting them and clowning them, now they're losing popularity, right? So now everybody knows Dave Rubin's a joke. When we didn't respond, he grew. When we kicked the living crap out of him rhetorically, he shrunk. So and Trump is the president of the United States. He actually could declare martial law, and if the generals go along, we're screwed. And folks like generals and other people, they pay attention to the news. And for them to know that there will be massive trouble if they go along with a coup is really, really important. So we don't have the luxury of being able to afford them, to be able to afford the idea of ignoring them. And so same thing with Milo, we ignored him, and then he festered. But then when we pointed out his horrific comments, and in that case, I don't mean just Young Turks, everybody did, but particularly BuzzFeed did a fantastic story on that. He actually got clowned and had to slink away. So we have no choice but to fight them.
Yeah, no, you actually do make really good points, and I think it is important for generals to know what kind of backlash they would face if they went along with it. On the other hand, the generals have military capability that's unmatched by any other country, and is outspent by any other country by I don't even know how many times over. So
let me just say this once in a post game, and then hopefully we'll never talk about it again. But it's not gonna happen. I would be shocked if it happened. But if 5 or 6 of those top generals decided they were with Trump, the country's over. There's nothing.
I know. Yeah.
So the country's in the hands of 5 or 6 people. That's it.
Democracy is so fragile, and I have to admit, I definitely took it for granted for a long time. But the Trump presidency and its aftermath, or the aftermath of the 2020 election, has just made it like so clear to me that if you're not constantly paying attention, and if you're not constantly thinking for yourself and reading and researching and really holding people in positions of power accountable, human nature can be awesome. It can be wonderful. Okay, I'll give you that. I'll give you that caveat. But humans can also be incredibly selfish, self-serving, drawn to power. Like we have a bunch of Smeagol's running around, right? What are we gonna do about the Smeagol's?
Yeah, no, that's Anna. This is now we're doing a real classic post game here, because when I was reading the Newt Gingrich stuff, the stuff he was saying earlier about how the election was stolen, I thought, now Newt, I know for a fact. Rudy's, I think not. Well, every one of them we can debate in different ways. But Newt, I know for a fact, is smart and is a craven piece of crap who's lying on purpose to gain power. And I think what's never said is Washington just accepts that, like, oh, here's a guy who we all know without any doubt at all is the worst kind of scum who lies to rip this country apart to accrue power. Everyone's like, oh, okay, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
No, that's not fine. It's not. And then they yell at us for civility. Like, you guys are not civil enough to Newt Gingrich. No, Newt Gingrich is not civil enough to the truth, to the country, to all this stuff. But Washington accepts ghouls, goblins, and monsters as
100%.
perfectly normal, like outrageous liars, as perfectly normal. Because now they challenge Trump and stuff. But remember, Newt Gingrich has been a monumental liar for his entire career. They've all known it. He was Speaker of the House and had enormous power in this country. So Washington is a cesspool.
Yeah, it really is. And that I totally agree with you on. I mean, I don't know why, but I randomly thought about how CNN was trying to hire one of someone who was working for Jeff Sessions within the Trump White House, Sarah something was her name. Anyway, they were gonna hire her, CNN was, to basically run their 2020 elections content. And I was like, what? But why? But why? And it's because she's a Republican who certainly subscribes to all of the awful policies and all the awful actions that Donald Trump engaged in. It's just that she represents what Republicans were prior to Trump. The friendly face, the friendly civil person who gives the aesthetics of being kind, but in reality, you just do a little bit of a deep dive and you find out they're awful. And by the way, it happens across the board. I mean, you should see the kind of comments I'm getting from people, Democrats, who are outraged that I called out Avril Haines, who's going to be the head of intelligence in the Biden administration. She's the architect behind Obama's drone strikes, as we've shared with you on the show. She's also someone who supported the US torture program, which is incredibly shameful. And she did it by promoting the head of the CIA, who was trying to essentially cover up documents related to the interrogation program that happened under the George Bush administration. Anyway, people are mad at me because they're like, how dare you? How dare you do that just because you disagree with her? No, I don't. It's not that I disagree with her. There is a very real moral issue right in front of us that has to do with human lives, number one. And number two was awful policy that did not make this country safer and certainly did not do anything to stabilize the Middle East. So it was bad policy that literally cost innocent people their lives. This is not a like friendly disagreement about politics. This is real. Yeah. But everyone's like in their team A or team B situation, they're refusing to hold people in their own party accountable. And I think that's a huge problem as well.
So Anna, a couple of things on that, because it's such an interesting topic. Number one, the how dare you shtick is not gonna keep working. It worked brilliantly for decades. So anytime progressives said, can we get healthcare? They're like, how dare you? Just because you disagree with private insurance, you guys are trying to fight against it. Yeah, that's how politics works. We want Medicare for all. They're like, how dare you? What do you mean, how dare we? What am I supposed to shut up? What am I supposed to do? Is your opinion the only legitimate opinion? And they genuinely believe that. Now we're talking about Democrats. We're not talking about Republicans, okay? And the mainstream media yelled at us for decades. How dare you? Well, now it's easy to beat up on the Young Turks. I mean, that's the favorite sport of all political wings in this country, right? But now there are so many young minorities who are not putting up with them. And so when they yell at young African American women with "how dare you," that's not going to play well. Not going to play well at all. And then they're going to get back, "how dare you?" And then all of a sudden they're going to be back on their heels, right? And so, and honestly, and I'm going to admit something here, or say something here that I'm not sure I've ever said, and I guess I'm glad I didn't do it. But it was a strategic mistake for the last 15 years for me to not emphasize my Muslim background, because the mainstream media is obsessed with identity politics. So if I know they don't really care about Muslims, and so like they, so it's the least effective, because they're like, yeah, you're Muslim, who gives a right? That's what they actually think in their heads. But all the horrible, horrible things they said about me. Was it related to the fact that I'm Muslim? I don't think so. That's why I didn't say it. Okay, but if I was callous like them and I had done identity politics and I said, oh, "Are you saying that because I'm Muslim?" They might be like, "Oh, damn it." Oh, okay, and they might have calibrated themselves, right? So this is the stupid, sick world we live in. But now in reality, when they start yelling at black people in mass to know their place, oh, that's not gonna play well, man. So that is a terrible mistake by the mainstream media that they are going to make and then they're going to regret. And so that's, hey, you wanted to play identity politics. Now all young minorities are on our side. So what are you gonna do now? What are you gonna do now? Okay. And so last thing on that is your point about ignoring folks. Well, that's my hope and belief is that eventually that's what's gonna happen in the mainstream media. So they think they're so important. And then everyone, like they're ordained by God as the arbiters of what people should watch and the opinions that are the official legitimate opinions in this country. And eventually social media is going to swamp mainstream media. And when social media is by far larger, and we're in the middle of that process now, we're not there yet as we saw in 2020. And it's gonna have downsides too, because crazy folks are on social media. It already has those downsides. But the upside is gonna be one day, mainstream media is gonna wake up and realize nobody's listening to them anymore. And when they don't have people like agreeing with them about the importance of their own voice and nobody's listening, oh, they're gonna be devastated. And those guys, once you take their voice away, like once you turn them off, they're not like the right wing. The right wing festers and becomes more cancerous. The mainstream media will just get depressed and move on to another grift. That's a day I look forward to.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. We really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.